Did you catch my chill guy?
Where's your chill guy? Oh, wait, what's he doing here?
What does a goofy Hanna-Barbera style cartoon and a 3D feature have in common? These two students. A few months ago, I mentored an amazing group of artists, guiding them on how to level up their designs for their portfolio, refining their ideas, pushing their skills, and turning concepts into stand-up projects. All my students had a strong base, but they just needed that final push to really get there. So last time I showed you two mentees with incredible growth, but today I'm back to showcase a whole new contrast. One student leaned into bold, goofy cartoon vibes, while the other tackled realistic, volumetric, 3D designs. And I have big news, my next mentorship starts next week, which is from March 2nd to May 4th of 2025, and applications are open. This 10-week program is perfect if you're looking for personalized feedback to level up your portfolio. While all the feedback spots are now filled, there's still another way to join. The spectator tier lets you watch all the lectures, demos, critiques, and you get to follow along with the assignments and still build a killer portfolio. You don't get direct feedback from me, but you'll get support from the community and TA, all working toward that same goal. Spots are limited, so sign up while they're still available. So sit back, put your learning hat on, and enjoy the video.
16-year-old Mira, a dedicated ride mechanic, has long abandoned her childhood to support her family. On her first night shift, strange occurrences challenge her skeptical view of the world. Owner, Madame Mystique, yields magic but harbors darker secrets. Meanwhile, Madame Mystique's vengeful twin, the masked maestro, plots to harness the life force of carnival patrons. As mysteries unravel, Mira and her fellow performers must face the unknown, threatening their beloved carnival.
Oh gosh, yeah, my concept is a little difficult.
His concept was very difficult. After talking about it more, he changed his story to a wild Western story following a young, naive cactus and a pig who are best friends and are in the bounty hunting business. I like that we have little moments where she's doing stuff you can kind of really see about this character and what she's good at. I think that's really excellent. And then you have different versions of her face. I'd like to see pushed shapes, push ideas in directions that maybe is a little bit different than the direction that you're gonna go in your final. Maybe she was that strong character. Her neck is thicker. Maybe she's got a different body silhouette where she's more top heavy, and then a version where she's more bottom heavy, right? And to push those ideas out so your concept page really stands out, that you explored every single thing that you could. She's the owner of a carnival, right? Why is she being so chill right now? She should definitely have bits and pieces, little hair pieces. Her hair is gorgeous and big. This guy might have these huge feathers, so why isn't her coat, how does it connect? So her hands come here, would it come off to the side so then we could see her dress a little bit more, or would it come in front of her the way you have it, but then I kind of want to see her back a little bit more and how that connects. This is a cool character, but I think that I see that we have some bulk on the bottom, so I want to see more bulk on that bottom. Maybe her pants start lower with all these chunks. I kind of want to know a little bit more about her personality. In your concept page, I feel you're showing us that she's working hard, but there's still a little bit lack of personality. What are those teenagery personality bits that she's bringing into here, other than I'm a good mechanic and I work hard? I would focus on that.
I just haven't had the chance to really get started on anybody else but my main character.
Yeah, no problem, that's okay. I see that you've done a lot of exploration. I think this is the funniest thing I've ever seen. I kind of want to lean towards these other funnier, more unique shapes of cactuses that are kind of never been done, because I feel I've seen characters like this. I want to see these other types of characters. Well, I really like the way the mustache is incorporated. I think that's really funny. I think that's a really great idea. I think we can push it. I think we should see the connection of the arms from the front view, or the 3/4 front at all times. I think you should lean a little bit further away from full circle shapes. So if this arm is kind of a circle shape, let's have these hands kind of come out of it. Still implies this type of round shape, but where the connection is more clear. How funny, how goofy is he? Is he super falling all the time? What's his props that he's holding? Oh, have him playing his banjo here, but still showcasing this. Have him tilted at different line of actions would be good. And you have a lot of concept pages, but a lot of them them are kind of mimicking this, like a similar thing. Here, for example, this face is very similar to like this face. Well, you don't want to show that in your portfolio. You want to show like the very best and the very different ones in the most clear way. I like this new shape better. I like the simplifiedness, and I like that rectangle, like with a slight taper in. I think that's a shape that we don't have anywhere else, so I think that's really, really cool. For your other characters, I love the slightly different direction that you went with her. You know, one thing that I will say about your lineup is like when I'm looking at him, I feel like he's like very busy and he's like a little too much. And when I look at her, there's like moments of busy, but there's also moments of rest, which I really appreciate. I think you should kind of consider a little bit more, where does he have place in this story? I see how all these other characters connect and work. He kind of looks like he's part of the circus, but how does he fit in with their story? Is he this arrogant guy that kind of helps them along the way? How can you connect that to them? What I do when I'm having trouble with like a design, I go back in and I redraw him, and I'm just pushing the shapes in the most extreme way and also simplifying it at the same time. I'm doing something like that. Does that work? Keeping it simple with the block in. Step back and see like, do I have enough areas of rest? Do I have enough areas of busyness? I think another way to like push that movement is to push his line of action. What if he was like doing this thing over them, playing with that scale and that story. I was about to push this character, big head, small body, and I'm like, okay, well, let's try the opposite. What if we have a much bigger porky belly? Like he's got this big belly, he's got these ears coming off with these things. Like what if you were to push it that way? This is how sketchy these first shape explorations should be, just like that. For this guy, like you're saying this is the biggest character, but honestly, like his head is almost the same height as the cactus characters. I would consider making him taller. This is hilarious. I think it'd be funny to just like sneak that in the portfolio, honestly. Like, I think that's really funny. Tell me more, why did you change this character? I could see like a lot more personality, and I think that looks really great. Seeing the flowers really flatten her because they're just facing towards the audience, putting them a little bit more in, and then that's where this arm comes out of. Like see that layering process. There's a little bit more volume. I think this character is great. I think you should stop touching her. He looks really balanced, which I don't feel like gives him enough action, as just leaning him more forward could really help solve this. I just feel like every iteration you make, you change your mind. Whichever direction you want to push, like decide and commit, I think are a lot stronger and their personalities shine a lot more. I think this is a big improvement. I think that you could do better with these hands, to be honest. In making your style like this, you're indicating that you could do this more Hanna-Barbera. We have a lot of really sharp points, these really round shapes. The roundness of his belly is really showing that volume. It's pretty flat and it's pretty simple. I would consider kind of that approach where you have a mix of really volumetric moments and then you have a mix of these flat moments. Here's the way I'm approaching like this assignment. In Nimona and the tangled expression sheets and stuff like that, there's a lot of moments where it's just like them talking and how they react and stuff like that. But there's also like 20 expressions. Oftentimes they'll choose these moments like from the storyboards as well. But we're not making like a full-length film. There's only like these 10 moments that we're going to really show who this character is. By hitting story, personality moments, and expressions and squash and stretch, then we can put so much more into our portfolio with like a lot less drawings. And that's why I'm like pushing more of like storytelling moments rather than more subtle acting choices. So like a moment like this where she's like looking down, I feel like you have a really good idea and grasp of the 3D like structure and stuff like that. So I want you to like push that as much as possible, that every expression is almost at a completely different angle, at like challenge yourself to do really tough angles. But what if it was even tilted up like higher and her nose is angry and we see the bottom of her like chin? What would that look like, those moments? You have a lot of potential of showing the environment with the way that the hair is going would help tell not only the story but her emotion. So I think going back in and trying to find those moments, even this is she's shocked and she's lifting her thing and she's like, what which I think is good, but like really push that stretch, using like the few that really speak to you, really good moments, and then focusing on them. This I'm also drawn to because I could imagine that he got like bumped and then like he's got a goose egg on his head and like he just got beat up from like a fight or whatever, and that's like storytelling. This one and this one is telling me a story, and the rest of them are just like exciting action poses. There's a cactus on the ground and he's got his banjo and he's serenading and he's like looking at it. Now we have the pig, and he is like an anxious guy. This is my favorite. I think that the way that you've rotated his head works really well, and I'd kind of want to see that more, because when I look at this versus when I look at this is so much more flatter, and I think that you can add some of that volume that you found here back into some other expressions. I feel like if there's a serious moment, he'd be looking down, or even better, that his face would be tilted down, and then that would be that opportunity to kind of figure out how that face looks like from this angle. I think this moment is really funny, although I think that your squash is a little too squashed. This is the head shape, right? We want to bring that down, but we don't want to make it like too wide where the head completely changes shape. So I'd probably tuck that in a little bit, and maybe I'd bring that down so it clears that silhouette. Pushing your expressions and adding some like shoulders or hands, like with this moment, to like push it. Like what if he's like, I got my eye on you. Meet the Fosters. He's got his two fingers like doing that or something like that. Just an idea, but like having his eye pop out of his head, like why not? Make it as cartoony as you can push it. Like, I remember you were having a lot of issues with how you would do it. I think that the way you approached it is really great. Swooshing lines. I think that you can make this also really cool by finishing this in like grayscale and really emphasizing these like silhouette shapes. What if the magic around him kind of followed that line of action a little bit more? This is such an intense, powerful moment. I think you could lean it even further, sticking to that line of action where the musical notes start a little bit higher and his hand is really in that center, and it's even like outlined thicker, like that hand, you're trying to lead the audience to this hand. Maybe you'd bend it a little bit more. Those fingers would all be bent so much more intensely. Have all these lines pointing to the focal points.
Did you catch my chill guy?
Where's your chill guy?
On the top left corner.
Oh, wait, what's he doing here? These are so bold and inventive. You know, I'm gonna be honest, when I've been seeing your work, I feel like what I saw in your portfolio when you came here, they're so pushed, and then I feel like some of your poses, you were kind of holding back, and then now I'm seeing this and I'm like, okay, now I feel confident in you again, and I feel like this is what you're here for, and you're really shining here. So good work. Let's go into it. I think that for this, like, I'm just imagining, like, what if his head was leaning back and he's singing, his eyes are closed and he's more like open. I think you need to find a little consistency in the way you bend, because right here we have a really hard straight, here we have a rubber hose, and here we have a mix of the two. So kind of like decide how you want those joints to bend and where you want them to bend. Find your rules and stick to them. I lean towards like a slightly more structured rubber hose. I feel like this apron is really flattening him. So like if this is his center line and he's facing this way, he's standing more straight and his legs coming out, and then maybe his apron would come out more like that, and then that would kind of give him a little bit more dimension. I think that these are so much more expressive. I was looking at your hands and I was like, oh, you're missing a finger, and then I realized, oh, it's because they're like hooves. But then the rest of your hands, like this one looks like a hoof, but then the rest don't. You should lean into more defining that these are hooves, like defining that shape a little bit more. These exaggerations are excellent. It's just keeping it ever so slightly on model a little bit more and finding clever ways to show that. I think this is very cool. I love how widescreen it is. I wouldn't mind if this character was a teeny bit smaller. I think that will just emphasize this story more. Everything is like big on screen because your name is big, he's big. And then maybe then we see the triangle shape within her. I don't know. I'd play around with where his hand is and with where she is. Because maybe she should be in the middle and everything else should be at different heights. Or even the spotlight is behind him and he's like blocking the stage, so then like the shadows of his hand and his stuff is kind of like going around her, and it's like a very direct light source, and then this stuff is like very secondary light source. Getting Getting drawings out of you is like pulling teeth. I'm like, please show me this drawing, and you're like, oh yeah, I have it. Why did you send it? Right here you have a very strong shape, and a lot of the other ones, it's like this wibbly wobbly, which makes it seem like not like a loud moment, but he looks like he's doing this really intense loud thing that I feel like the music notes here would be more of a straight line, and then maybe when it gets in around the edges, then it becomes more wibbly wobbly. Maybe there's a moment where the lady of the carnival is like saying a lore that's happening before we find out they're evil, and he's like illustrating it in the background of like the story. Like I could see that happening in a feature film.
So Liam wasn't able to attend week 8 and 9. He still worked on his characters' interactions and the rest of his portfolio. So he sent these characters in, and I got back to him with some feedback. My feedback's really to really push the hell out of these poses. These characters are so funny and silly that pushing the line of action, pushing the comedy, and just like the silliness of it all is really gonna help these characters like pop and really make their personalities shine. So after taking my advice, this is what his new characters interaction page looked like, and I think it is so much more pushed. It's so much more fun and clear who they are as characters and how their relationship is.
Yeah, very cool GIF. What the heck? I would consider combining your portfolio to make one big VizDev work with your character design work. Oh wait, actually, this is the same pose as that. I wouldn't put this in at all. You don't want to reuse any type of your poses. Like this is what I want the very first page to be after your splash page. For this, I wouldn't necessarily have this page because it's just a rough of what you have. These are different concepts of what these characters would have been. Like these ones are very close to the existing ones, so I wouldn't do it. But I'd like to see your concept page for like these characters. I see you have this. You could add that other one from the other page. You could throw it on there. Even if you have like this green fade and then you have just like a few music notes here to show that. Still music notes, but it's still also magic. I'd like to see like the flow more in like the shape language of how his magic works. Once you do this, like I said in like my first round of notes in terms of acting, in terms of, you know, making more full body moments, even show us a moment after the betrayal, after we find out that she's evil. What happens in a story beat, I think would be very cool. And for like the VizDev, like showing the overview, the establishing shot of what the carnival field looks like. Even doing a page of really rough concept of all the background characters, of all the other people at the carnival, doing the props, then doing an interior of that big tent of how it would look and getting an idea of what are the type of shows that would be going on. I think your Peter Pan work is cool. I don't think this works as a first page just because you can't see her. I wasn't sure because they have the same hair color. I was like, oh, maybe this is like a mirror, like they are the same people. Really clarify that story. I'm kind of looking at it, and these are kind of similar shapes in hair and angles as like these characters. So I'm wondering, what is this telling me that your other projects aren't telling me? You've developed your story so strongly that everything else almost doesn't even hold up anymore. The only thing that's even close to what you have earlier is the Peter Pan. I would honestly wipe almost everything off your portfolio and focus on your carnival story and even your Peter Pan story. These are good characters, these are solid. It's just more about really showcasing this story visually.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, this is a very fun splash page. I think that it would be even funnier if he was holding it up above his head. For a moment, I was like, this isn't smoke, this is something he's standing on. And then I'm like, oh no, he's just like flying in. So maybe something about like the way the cape is coming in, maybe some effects to show that he's coming in from way up here, he's jumping in. I really love the lineup. These are really great concept pages. They're like so pushed and funny. I wouldn't take the drawing from your lineup and then put it here and color it. I would take a concept and I would put it here in a color instead. So I would take your favorite one. So I really like these two with these ideas that are too similar. Remove them and replace them with completely different variations, a completely different head shape. Like how you have here, like look at all these like extremely different designs. Compared to like this, of all these ideas almost being similar, these tell so much of the story with slightly different animals. What if he was like a chipmunk? He's still small and that's why no one's taking him seriously and he hates being a chipmunk or whatever. Try to find ways you found this energy in into your like other concepts. I think this page is so solid. This is my favorite page in your whole portfolio. I feel like work a lot stronger than they did before. Expanding this portfolio as you continue, make another story as well. Like whatever personal work you have that you can even try to make into like a page or two. If you have more cars, you can make one page with like 6 car designs, right? Like that could be a page. If you have this and then you have another businessman taller and then another one wide, right? Last thing, ooh, a little tangent right here. This is a really solid start. You have so much work and it's really cool that you did this in only 10 weeks. It's cool that everybody did everything in only 10 weeks.
Yeah, no, I'm shocked. I'm honestly like, this was the best springboard that I could have probably jumped off of here with this mentorship. I'm very grateful. I always want to like jump into like some freaking speech, but no, like I think I'm very humbled. I'm very grateful for the mentorship and the time.
Thank you so much.
I'm so proud of these students. The growth they achieved in just 10 weeks is honestly mind-blowing. Their storytelling, stronger. Their design skills, sharper. And watching them push their fundamentals to the next level really reminded me just how much I love teaching. It's just really cool. So as you know, my next character design mentorship is starting next week. So if you're interested in joining, spots are loaded. So check out the details in the description below if you're interested. And if you want to be the first to know about future mentorships, courses, or tips, things like that, be sure to sign up to my newsletter and I'll keep you in the loop. I've also linked Liam and Vanya's portfolio in the description, so definitely check out their work. And hey, why not to show them some love in the comments? They worked so hard and I know they'd appreciate it. Okay, that's it from me and I'll see you next time. Bye.